Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Derek Rosa. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Derek Rosa was born on August 26, 2010, and lived in Florida. He was raised by his mother, Irina Garcia, and his stepfather, Frank Ramos. The family lived in an apartment located at 211 West 79th Place in Hialeah. Irina worked in a salon, and Frank worked as a truck driver. Derek was described as a polite young man who earned good grades in school. On September 29, 2023, Derek's mother gave birth to a daughter and went on maternity leave from the salon. The newborn girl slept in a crib in the same bedroom as Irina. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On Thursday, October 12, 2023, at 11:31 p.m., 13-year-old Derek Rosa called 911 and told the operator to send the police to his home because he just killed his mother. When the operator asked if his mother was still breathing, Derek responded, "She's dead, miss." He went on to talk about 2 firearms that he had access to, saying that he planned to use them on himself, but could not follow through. Speaking about the homicide, Derek said, "I took pictures and told my friends about it. Is that bad?" At 11:36 p.m., 5 minutes after Derek called 911, the police arrived. They encountered Derek by the front door of his apartment and immediately placed him under arrest. Derek told officers, "There's a knife in my room." Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. Derek's 39-year-old mother, Irina Garcia, was on her bedroom floor between the bed and the crib for her daughter. She had been stabbed 46 times, including in her neck. Irina was pronounced dead at 11:54 p.m. Her newborn daughter was in the crib and uninjured. Derek was interviewed by the police at about 3 a.m., now on Friday, October 13, 2023. Here is the story he supplied to investigators. Derek went to bed in his bedroom at around 10 p.m. During this time, his mother and his newborn half-sister were in his mother's bedroom. They were the only other people in the apartment. Derek woke up, retrieved a knife, entered his mother's bedroom, and started stabbing her as she was sleeping. After the homicide, he called a friend who he had met while playing video games online. He did not know the friend's name, but had communicated with him for 3 years. Derek sent the friend photographs of his dead mother. At this point, Derek retrieved a pistol to implement the second part of his plan, but he was unable to go through with it. This is when he called the police and confessed. The investigators asked Derek why he killed his mother. Instead of answering the question, he asked to go to the bathroom. When he returned to the interrogation room, the police asked him again why he carried out the attack. Derek dodged the question, this time asking for a lawyer. As the investigation continued, the police discovered curious internet searches that Derek made on his cell phone in the hours leading up to the stabbing. For example, where is the best place to stab someone? Is a small knife good for killing? Is it easier to kill someone with a small knife? And can a knife cut through bone? Derek also searched for a diagram of the carotid artery and for a machine gun. In Irina's bedroom, there was a camera which had been used to monitor her newborn daughter. At 11 p.m. on the night of the killing, this camera captured Derek looming over his mother, who appeared to be asleep. This was about a half hour before the fatal stabbing attack. The police were able to confirm Derek's story about sending photographs to a friend. He had taken a photograph of his mother's corpse and of a pistol. He also took a selfie featuring blood on his hand. Less than 10 minutes after taking these photographs, he made calls to a friend in another state. He told the friend that he would be sending images and asked the friend to tell him what he thought of them. Derek sent the images to the friend. After receiving the photographs, the friend thought that Derek was joking. The police were also able to confirm Derek's story about who was in the apartment at the time of the killing. It was only him, his mother, and his half-sister. Derek Rosa was charged with second-degree murder, but later indicted on first-degree murder. At the time I'm making this video, he is working his way through the criminal justice system. His attorneys have been very active in their defense of Derek. Now moving to my analysis. Derek Rosa maintains his innocence, or at least his defense attorneys are doing this. In addition to his lawyers, Derek has attracted a decent-sized group of supporters. These individuals, who are mostly Spanish-speaking women who have no connection to Derek, travel across the country to attend his court hearings. They believe there is no way Derek could be guilty, and they are angry with the police for interviewing him after he was arrested. They believe Derek was too young to be interviewed. One supporter told the media, quote, "There's a lot of reasonable doubt that we have. It goes from the 911 call, the arrest, the interview. There are many reasonable doubts," unquote. Documents filed in court by Derek's attorneys indicate that he has ADHD. His father supposedly said that he had autism, but Derek's lawyers claim there is no evidence of autism. Mental health experts have been retained by the defense, which supports the theory that Derek's lawyers will be pursuing an insanity defense. The state of Florida, of course, disagrees about Derek's claims of innocence. They argue that he was responsible for his mother's death. This brings me to the question, is Derek guilty of first-degree murder? Let's take a look at the evidence, both for and against the idea that he is guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Prior to Derek's mother being killed, he made internet searches consistent with him planning to attack someone with a knife. A half hour before the attack, Derek could be seen on camera leaning over his mother as she slept. Derek called 911 and confessed to killing his mother. A few minutes later, the police arrived and found her stabbed to death in her bedroom. There were only 2 other people in the apartment, Derek and his 2-week-old half-sister. During an interview with the police after he was arrested, Derek admitted that he killed his mother and admitted that he sent gruesome images of the crime to a friend of his. Derek's supporters, including his attorneys, have tried to make it seem like Derek's stepfather could have been at the apartment at the time of the killing, but the police have confirmed he was in Georgia at that time. Moving to the exculpatory factors, Derek's grandmother described Derek in a way that is inconsistent with homicidal behavior. She stated, quote, "I've never seen him with any mental problems or anything like that. He's a normal kid, intelligent. I don't know what happened. All I know is I don't have a daughter anymore," unquote. A worker in the jail where Derek is incarcerated said that Derek would never hurt anyone. "He is so sweet, and we all love him here." Derek supposedly has mental health symptoms. Maybe these interfered with his ability to understand the difference between right and wrong. That is pretty much it for the exculpatory factors. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Derek is guilty? Yes. In my opinion, he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I believe his attorneys are just trying to make the case as difficult as possible for the state to convince them to offer a plea deal. They are just throwing everything at the wall and hoping that something sticks. It's also possible they believe they can mount an effective defense based on legal insanity, but there isn't really much information about that now. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. This case is a bit of a mystery because there's not really much information about Derek's state of mind. He refused to answer the questions about his motive, and not much is known about his mental health history. Even so, there are a few clues available as to what Derek may have been thinking. One report suggested that the date of the attack may have had some type of significance to Derek. Again, the murder occurred late on Thursday, October 12, 2023. Derek told his friends that for Halloween, he was going as Jason from the Friday the 13th horror movie franchise. Maybe he was trying to align the stabbing attack with Friday the 13th. Derek appeared to have an unusually high level of interest in a video of a U.S. Army reservist who brought an end to his own life. Evidently, this video was graphic in nature. Derek called the video funny and shared it with his friends and his girlfriend multiple times. The affinity for Jason and Derek's interest in blood and gore could point to a teenager who was highly interested in killing and death. Although those two items are not very convincing, a lot of people appreciate horror movies and are interested in watching violent imagery. The vast majority of them will never kill anyone. The searches that Derek made on the internet support the theory that he premeditated the attack. Maybe he was experiencing thoughts about violence and was having trouble resisting the urge to act on them. He became determined to satisfy his desire. It's also possible that his objective from the beginning was to no longer exist. Maybe he thought that killing his mother was an act of mercy. She would not have to suffer with his death. When he could not follow through with the second part of his plan, he had no choice but to surrender to the police. Derek's refusal to answer the questions about his motive supports the idea that he believes there is a clear reason behind his actions. It is not a mystery to him, just to everyone else. His silence points to a motive that he finds embarrassing. Perhaps the arrival of Derek's half-sister generated feelings of resentment and envy. Murder would be a highly unusual reaction to this, but it could explain why he was unwilling to share his motive. Again, there really isn't much information on his state of mind. Every theory is still in play based on the current evidence. Another mystery in this case is how Derek has attracted a decent number of supporters. The evidence against him is nothing short of overwhelming. It's hard to imagine why even one person would defend him, much less a group of people. Some people have suggested that maybe the support is based on a sense of loyalty by members of his own culture. He is Hispanic, and most, if not all, of his supporters are Hispanic. I guess this is possible, but it still does not make a lot of sense. There is no reason to believe that the police discriminated against Derek based on him being Hispanic. It's not like this is some type of conspiracy. Derek called the police and confessed, and later confessed in a police station. His supporters have selected the losing side of this battle. Now moving to my final thoughts. One of the most frightening elements of this case is how, from Irina's perspective, the attack came out of nowhere. There were no warning signs like escalating conflict or chronic belligerence. In the time leading up to the fatal stabbing, a doorbell camera captured Derek interacting with his mother. Their conversation, which was conducted in Spanish, was not out of the ordinary. Derek seemed like a normal teenager talking to a parent. There was no sign of stress, no sign that he was angry, no sign that he was homicidal. There was nothing at all. This attack serves as a stark reminder that a normal appearance does not always reflect a normal inner state, and a disaster can emerge without warning. It is not clear whether any level of vigilance to identify red flags could have prevented this tragedy. Those are my thoughts in the case of Derek Rosa. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.